Hi, this is your host Sapna Bhartia, and we are here at Open Source Summit in Vienna, Austria. And today we have with us Hrittik Roy, platform advocate at Loft. Hrittik, it's great to have you on the show.
Hi, thank you for welcoming me. It is nice to meet you at Oasis Summit in Vienna.
Talking about your talk here.
So I came yesterday and I had a talk on DevPod. So DevPod is our new product. It's an open source alternative for Codespaces. So you can use it for creating workspaces or you're in cloud or on your local machine.
And also talk a bit about the focus of your talk.
So right now, a lot of people are facing issues in isolation as well as when they are running a lot of resources. Like if they are trying to use GPUs, the problem is they need to go through IT to provision all those. So DevPod comes into the picture where they can claim workspaces which has all the resources they need either in locally or in the cloud, and they can use a workspace, an environment where they can run anything they want to and use it for their research or their scientific work as well as normal development.
DevPod has kind of received a very good response. What is the reason behind that?
So, like, there are a lot of options right now in the market, but DevPod is open source, and the providers, like where you host your workspace, it is also open source. So, right now we have around 8.5 thousand GitHub stars, and it is always increasing, and the Slack community is also very active. So, I think the reason is people have something they can contribute to, and as well as use, and it's open, so everyone is coming together, helping the project grow as well as using it. So, I think that might be one of the reason.
And what kind of community is there around DevPod beyond just Loft?
So we rely on something called devcontainer.json. It is a standard which is common across Codespaces and other tools. So we rely on that to define what is a workspace. So there is a very big community, and we have started something called DevPod templates, where you can have more examples on how you can use DevPod specifically. So there is a very big community, and inside our Loft Slack community where the pod is focused, we have students, we have researchers, we have software engineers who are very experienced trying to solve issues, and also people in IT who want developers to have powerful machines and where they can self-service to improve the developer experience overall.
And can you also talk about since when DevPod was released and today how it has evolved?
So when DevPod initially released, we were thinking a lot about how we will grow the project because there are a lot of competitors. But right now we see there is a push towards having their own workspace in their own infra. So DevPod is now more powerful. We support a lot of IDs, like we support Cursor, we support JetBrains and everything. We support a lot of providers again, which was not initially the case. And the good part is most of the providers are community. Like we have Equinix providers, which is contributed by the community. We didn't build it. The community built it because they required it. Apart from that, we have a powerful UI right now. It was with a CLI, which is also as powerful. And we have also launched something called DevPod Pro, which is in beta. So there you can have a centralized control plane, which is used by a lot of people right now and customers as well.
What other things are on the pipeline of DevPod?
Right now, we are trying to help AI researchers a bit more. So a lot of in problem in AI is like AI requires more specific hardware like GPU and TPUs. And the problems we see is like it's a lengthy process to get the GPUs for researchers. Even if there is a GPU pool, there is hard so that whenever a researcher needs a GPU pool, it might be made sure that it is not being used by anyone else. So we are trying to focus on that area where we can empower more users, more researchers to get more GPU whenever they want from their shared pool. As well as we are trying to rely more on the dev container standard so that more researchers as well as more developers can use it, and it doesn't require it to be professional developers. We see students using it as well because when they require more cloud computing power, for example they are learning Linux on a Windows machine or they are learning something which requires high bandwidth, it is helpful because you connect to the cloud and run your workspaces over there.
Can you also talk about some of the use cases? Now, when I talk about use cases, I mean, you just touched upon that, but that were expected. And when you put a project open source, you have no idea of how people will start using that. So can you talk about some of the exciting use cases you have seen?
The initial use case was isolation and using cloud, but we never expected so much interest with GPUs and researchers having it on their end. So this is an exciting use case we are seeing because a lot more researchers are coming together who want that use case on their own. Like they want to be feel more powerful and they want the freedom to use GPU whenever they need. So this is an interesting use case in my opinion. Initially, we just thought it will be about just normal isolation and normal workspace where they use just compute, but having another types of compute is a interesting use case, I feel.
What kind of impact DevPod have on cost and complexity?
So one of the main important reason is complexity in big organization. The main purpose of vCluster as well as DevPod. So vCluster is another product which focuses on multi-tenancy. But vCluster and DevPod is to improve the lives of developer, improve developer experience. So whenever you empower developer to self-service the capabilities, it is useful as developers right now can get whatever they want whenever they want. So complexity is reduced by that front. So developers can focus on what's more important, the work instead of going through IT and everything for that. And cost is again a factor which a lot of organizations care about and should care about because it hits their bottom line. So cost is also whenever you compare with bare metal and normal compute, which you can use with DevPod, it is way cheaper than other alternatives, which has a SaaS. So you need to pay, and you are just restricted to your own cloud. With DevPod, you can just bring your own compute, like your own servers, which might be required in a lot of fields like medical for compliance issues. So that can be done easily.
When you finish your talk, what kind of response you got from the attendees who were listening to your talk?
So a lot of attendees were curious about how they can use DevPod in their organization because the problems which we solve are something which a lot of developers faces. The biggest problem is having the environments which is repeatable. Like when there is infrastructure as a code, you can repeat the environment on any infra. Like if you have a prod, if you are a dev. So a lot of people were having an issue on how they can have an environment which they can declare. And all the developers in their team can have a similar environment because a lot of time is wasted in configuring and deleting environments which is not repeatable. So I saw a lot of developers curious on that front. Like they wanted to reduce the number of issues they face across different type of environments. So I feel having a similar kind of environment where every developer has a similar kind of tool set is very helpful. And that is one of the biggest concerns in the room. How can they do that? And the best part is your central ID can declare a dev container JSON, which they can use to run DevPod. And your team can just go and click on open with DevPod and they will have a running workspace. And this is not just useful for internal teams. Suppose you have an open source project and you want contributors to come in. It's hard for contributors to go through all the steps and create a workspace or create an environment where they are running everything together. Here comes dev container JSON with DevPod, where you can define everything, and your developers can just come and click a button, and they have an environment where they can experiment and contribute to the project, which is very helpful. And I saw some couple of tweets from Linux Foundation team who are considering using dev container JSON in their projects as well.
Hrittik, once again, thank you so much for sitting down with me for this interview and talk about DevPod. And as usual, I look forward to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me as well. It was nice meeting you finally. Yep.